Hi friends, welcome back to the kitchen. If you love classic breakfast sandwich recipes, then you're gonna wanna stay for this video. Today we're making 5 classic breakfast sandwich recipes that you can definitely make at home. Some of these are quick and easy, some freezer friendly, and some of these are your classic brunch recipes. So if you love classic comfort food, cozy brunch recipes, or you just need some classic breakfast ideas, then let's get started. First up, we're making the classic Monte Cristo sandwich. This is the perfect sweet and savory deli-style sandwich. It's basically a cross between a ham and cheese sandwich and French toast.
The first thing I'm going to do for this recipe is make the French toast batter. I'm using a wide, shallow bowl here because it makes it easier to dip the sandwich bread. And this batter should be enough to give you 4 thick sandwiches. Right now I'm whisking together 2 eggs, a 1/4 cup of milk, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. To build my sandwiches, on 1/2 of the bread, I'm going to layer on some spicy mustard. You can of course opt for some regular mustard here or just use your favorite spread. Now you can build the whole sandwich first and then dip it in the batter, or dip the sides of toast separately and just assemble the sandwich right inside the pan. I have my frying pan preheated to medium-low heat. Add in enough butter just to coat the bottom of the pan, and then I'm going to layer my sandwiches. My first layer is Swiss cheese, followed by some sliced deli ham and then some sliced turkey. And before I close the sandwich, I'm going to add another layer of the Swiss cheese. Finally, I'm going to dip the last slice of bread in the French toast mixture, and then add it to the top of the sandwich. Now I'm just going to let the sandwich fry away until it's golden brown on the one side and the cheese has started to melt.
The secret to cooking this sandwich perfectly is low and slow heat. That way your sandwich will get nice and melty all the way through all the thick layers.
Now that the first side of the sandwich is golden brown and cooked through, I'm going to gently flip it over to the other side. Then let it cook on the second side for a few minutes more until it's golden and the cheese is melted throughout. To serve this thick deli-style sandwich, I'm going to transfer the hot sandwich to a plate.
And don't forget a little hint of powdered sugar on top.
This is going to give it that perfect sweet-savory combination. And this sandwich is ready to serve immediately with your favorite dip.
My favorite dip for this sandwich, of course, is maple syrup.
Some other great choices are a side of raspberry jam or your favorite fruit preserves. This hearty sandwich is so easy to make at home. Serve it alongside some crispy potato hash brown for the perfect deli-style weekend meal.
Next up, we're making Eggs Benedict. I guess this is technically an open-faced sandwich, but I think it can still make the list. This recipe may seem fancy and like you couldn't do it in your own home, but I have a few tricks and tips to making this quick and easy in your own home. And don't worry, hollandaise sauce is easier than you think to make at home, and there should be no fear around poaching eggs.
I'm going to start this recipe with the hollandaise sauce. This is probably the most daunting part of the whole recipe, but I found this easy way of doing it and it turns out perfectly every time. I already have a pot with a few inches of water on medium-low heat to create a double boiler. Now to my large bowl that's going to go on top, whisk together 2 egg yolks. Then I'm going to whisk in 2 teaspoons of lemon juice and mix it until it's smooth and foamy. Now normally for hollandaise you're going to whisk in some melted butter, which creates an emulsion as you whisk it with the egg yolks. However, you can also add a 1/2 cup of unsalted butter cut into chunks. Then I'm going to place this whole bowl over the double boiler and keep whisking as the butter slowly melts, and it's going to create the emulsion with the egg yolks. As the butter and egg yolks melt and cook together, they're going to become thick and create the perfect easy hollandaise sauce. As soon as the sauce is thick enough to coat the back of a wooden spoon, you can remove it from the heat. I'm just going to whisk in about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt for flavor and a pinch of cayenne pepper.
And make sure you use a thermal cup like this, that way you can get the hollandaise sauce over with first, and you can take your time making the rest of the sandwich.
I'm just going to ladle all of this sauce into my little cup here. Cover it with the lid and set it aside. This is going to keep it at the perfect temperature until I'm ready to serve my Eggs Benedict. Now for the other components of the sandwich, I'm going to use some English muffins and I'm going to fry up some sliced ham. And of course, make sure to use a fork to split the English muffins, that way you still get all those little nooks and crannies inside that's going to hold on to the butter. I just cooked up a batch of some sourdough whole wheat English muffins that I'm going to use here today. And while they're toasting, I'm going to fry my ham. I'm just using a frying pan on medium heat here until it's caramelized on both sides. And now that my English muffins are toasted, I'm going to spread on a generous amount of butter. Now all we have left to do is poach the eggs. Now if poaching eggs is something you haven't conquered at home yet, then you're going to fall in love with this easy method. Crack your egg into a strainer and let the really watery bits of the egg white strain off. These would just be the little flyaway bits of the egg white that are going to make it look messy. Then to a small bowl, I'm going to add a little bit of water and then gently pop the cracked egg inside. Then I'm going to add in just a splash of lemon juice. Give it a little swirl around the egg. Then I'm just going to let it sit for about 2 minutes. This is going to give the acid enough time to just barely coagulate the very outer layer of the egg white. This is going to help it hold its shape when it goes into the water. The water should be very hot and steaming, but not quite simmering. Gently slip the egg into the water, and then let it cook to your desired doneness. The egg should cook for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on if you like a very runny yolk or if you like a firmly set egg yolk. And while the egg is cooking, I'm going to assemble the sandwich. Place the ham on top of each buttered English muffin. As soon as the egg is done, gently remove it with a slotted spoon and let it drip off any excess moisture. Place each egg on top of the ham. And now we're ready to add the reserved hollandaise sauce. Give it a stir, and if you want to thin it down, you can add 1 teaspoon of warm water. Stir until you have your desired thickness. Then spoon this sauce generously on top of the egg. I'm going to garnish the top of mine with a little sprinkle of cayenne pepper and a little dusting of chopped parsley. And this restaurant-worthy brunch recipe is ready to serve right away. Once you've conquered this classic Eggs Benedict, you can try some other great variations. Eggs Florentine, where you switch out some spinach for the meat. For Eggs Royale, instead of the ham, use the more elegant smoked salmon. For a California-style Eggs Benedict, add in some sliced avocado and tomatoes. Or Eggs Neptune, where we're going to upgrade the meat to crab. Let me know your favorite way of making Eggs Benedict in the comments.
Next up, we're making an iconic French sandwich, Croque Madame. This is just like the classic Croque Monsieur, except for it has a perfectly fried egg on top, making it more breakfast worthy.
For this recipe, I'm going to start with some thinly sliced classic white sandwich bread. I'm making 2 sandwiches here today, and I'm just going to lightly butter and toast them before assembling the sandwiches. I'm just going to toast mine in the oven, so I'm buttering the bread first. But of course, if you're using a toaster for this, you're going to want to butter the bread after. Now my bread is nicely toasted. The first thing I'm going to do is add a layer of Swiss cheese. My favorites to use for this recipe are Gruyere or Emmental. After the cheese, I'm going to put on a layer of ham. I just have some good quality thinly sliced deli ham that I'm using here. A more authentic choice for this Croque Madame would be Jambon de Paris or a mild unsmoked deli ham. Next up, I'm going to place another layer of the Swiss cheese. Then place the other 2 slices of the toast on top to finish the sandwich. And now for the real showstopper part of this sandwich, the cheese sauce. In a sauce pot on medium heat, I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of butter and stir to melt. I'm going to remove this from the heat and whisk in a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour to make a roux. Once you have a smooth paste, return it to the heat and whisk in 1½ cups of warm milk. Whisk this constantly as your bechamel sauce cooks to avoid any lumps. As the sauce comes up to a simmer, it's going to start to thicken. Once it's quite thick and you start to see bubbles break on the surface, you can remove it from the heat. Then I'm going to stir in 3/4 cup of grated Swiss cheese and a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan. Stir this until it's all melted together into a thick Mornay sauce. Finally, season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now my sauce is ready to layer on top of each sandwich. Spread the sauce out evenly to all the corners and sides of the sandwich. That way the toast won't get overly browned in the oven. Now my sandwiches are going to go onto a baking sheet and get popped into my preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius oven and bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. Then turn the oven up to broil and, watching closely, allow the thick cheese sauce on each sandwich to brown and crisp slightly. This should take around 2 minutes. And while my sandwich is cooking in the oven, I'm going to get my frying pan ready to cook the egg. As soon as the sandwiches are toasted and bubbly on top, remove them from the oven. These sandwiches are going to get topped with a perfectly cooked sunny side up egg. To do this, I'm going to coat the bottom of my preheated medium pan with a little bit of butter. Crack the egg into the pan, leaving the yolk intact. Once the egg white starts to turn from opaque to white, place the lid on the frying pan. The steam inside the pan will start to set the top of the egg. Once the top of the egg white is set and the yolk is still runny, gently remove the egg from the pan with a spatula and place it on top of the cooked sandwich. And this decadent Croque Madame is ready to serve right away.
I think this might be the ultimate French cafe breakfast sandwich.
This sandwich is everything you love about a classic grilled ham and cheese sandwich, only more rich and decadent.
Next up, we're making an amazing time saver breakfast sandwich. This is an English muffin freezer-friendly breakfast sandwich. So if you want your weekday breakfast to go a whole lot smoother, then you're going to want to save this recipe.
These breakfast sandwiches are one of my favorites because they're such a time saver in the morning. No more sink full of dishes first thing in the morning after making my husband fresh breakfast sandwiches before work. These are already prepped and ready to go. All you need to do is grab them and reheat. These are a great meal prep and perfect for kids or adults who want a hot breakfast sandwich to grab and go on busy mornings. The first thing I'm going to do for this recipe is make the sheet pan eggs. To a large bowl, crack in 8 eggs. I'm just using a large glass measuring cup here for easy pouring. I'm going to whisk the eggs with a 1/4 cup of milk and then season it with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I'm just going to whisk this together until everything's smooth and there's no big chunks of eggs left. Now to make these scrambled eggs quickly and easily, I'm going to line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Pour the egg mixture on top, and then this is ready to go into my preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius oven and bake for 15 minutes until the eggs are set. After removing them from the oven, I'm just going to let them cool slightly and then cut them into 8 equal squares. I'm going to be making my sandwiches today on some English muffin. And yes, this is my same favorite English muffin recipe, and I'll link it in the description box below if you want to make your own homemade English muffins. I'm just going to toast these lightly and then butter them before assembling the sandwiches. The first layer is going to be some sliced cheese, then some sliced deli ham, 1 square of the sheet pan scrambled eggs, and to finish it off, another layer of sliced cheese. Place the other half of your English muffin on top, and then these are ready to get wrapped and stored. I'm just going to let these cool before wrapping each one. You can either wrap them in foil, parchment paper, or plastic wrap, depending on how you want to reheat them. I'm going to place all my wrapped sandwiches into a freezer bag, and then they're ready to get stored in the freezer for up to 2 months. When you're ready to use them, you can either remove them from the freezer the night before and let them defrost in the fridge overnight, or you can cook them straight from frozen. These reheat perfectly in the microwave, the oven, or even your air fryer.
I love making a big batch of these on Sundays. That way, through the week, all I have to do is heat them and they're ready to go. Once you find out how quick and easy this recipe is, you're going to want to make this week after week. And you can keep things fresh by changing up the type of bread. You can use biscuits, bagels, even croissants. And you can change up the meat. And don't forget to add some mix-ins to your eggs. Next up, we're making another time-saving, freezer-friendly breakfast recipe. These are easy breakfast wraps. This is a perfect grab-and-go breakfast and another customizable recipe perfect to add to your family's lineup.
To start this recipe, I'm going to wash and cut into small cubes 3 potatoes. To make this recipe even quicker and easier, you could opt for some freezer-style hash browns, but I'm just going to go with plain potatoes today. I'm going to parboil these while I'm getting the rest of the ingredients ready. I have a large oven-proof Dutch oven here, and I'm going to fry up 1 pound of sausage meat. I'm just breaking and crumbling it up as it cooks. Now my potatoes and sausage are cooking away, I'm going to prepare my pepper. I'm removing the seed area from 1 large bell pepper. Then I'm going to dice it, and it's going to get mixed into the eggs later on. You could of course opt for a different kind of mix-in to add to your eggs, like mushrooms, spinach, or onions. Now my potatoes are tender, and I'm going to drain them into a strainer. My sausage meat is nicely cooked through, and I'm going to remove it to a plate. And now to the same pan, I'm just going to lightly fry the chopped bell pepper in the leftover sausage grease. Once they've cooked down and started to become tender, you can remove them from the heat. Meanwhile, in a large bowl, I'm going to crack in 10 eggs. I'm going to whisk these together to break up the eggs, and then I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of milk. Whisk this until everything is smooth and there's no big chunks of eggs left. I'm going to season the eggs with about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Whisk this together, and then the eggs are ready to get poured into the pan with my peppers. Now, if the pan that you are cooking it in isn't quite big enough, you can transfer everything to a greased large rectangular casserole dish, or you could also use a greased and lined baking sheet. Now to the egg mixture, I'm going to add back in the cooked potatoes and the cooked sausage meat. Just toss everything together until it's evenly distributed into the egg mixture. And now this whole thing is ready to get popped into my preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius oven. And I'm going to let it bake for about 20 to 25 minutes. The time is going to depend on the size of the pan that you're cooking it in. A thin metal baking sheet is going to cook faster, and a thick casserole dish is going to take a little bit longer. But once the eggs are set all the way to the center, they're ready to come out of the oven. I'm going to let the eggs cool slightly before slicing them into 10 equal rectangular slices. And now to build the wraps. I'm using large flour tortillas here, and I'm just going to place a rectangular slice of the egg mixture into the center of the wrap. On top, I'm going to drizzle a little bit of hot sauce, and then sprinkle on top some grated cheddar cheese. Fold 3 sides of the wrap over, and then tuck in the corners so nothing leaks out. Then I'm going to continue to tightly roll it until the wrap is sealed. And once cooled, they're ready to get covered in either tin foil, plastic wrap, or parchment paper. I'm just going to continue doing the exact same thing with the rest of my wraps until all of my ingredients are used up. Make sure to cover each one individually, and then they're ready to get placed into a freezer bag. And these can get stored in the freezer for up to 2 months. And just like the breakfast sandwiches, when you're ready to use them, you can either remove them from the freezer the night before and let them defrost in the fridge, or you can cook them right from frozen. My favorite way to reheat them is in a frying pan. Remove them from the wrapping, and then place them in a preheated medium-low skillet with a little bit of butter or oil in the bottom. Fry them on all 4 sides until they're golden and crispy. Once they're heated through, they're ready to eat and enjoy. But you can also heat these quickly in the microwave, in your air fryer, or if you want to reheat a big batch all at once, you can use your oven. This is such a great, easy breakfast sandwich. They're loaded with protein. Of course, they're freezer friendly, making them perfect for busy weekdays, school mornings, or any breakfast on the go. And of course, if you fall in love with this recipe, they're super easy to customize. Fill them with all your favorite omelet-style fillings, switch out the cheese, and for breakfast at home, you can serve them with different sauces and dips.
For any of the freezer-friendly recipes, you're going to want to make sure to let everything cool completely before you wrap them, or the steam's going to make them a little bit soggy in their wrapping. And for all of the breakfast sandwiches, don't forget to serve them with sauces and dips. to really make them restaurant worthy. Some great options are of course the hollandaise sauce that we made with the Eggs Benedict, maple syrup or even jam for the Monte Cristo sandwich, mustards, hot sauces, mayonnaise, any of your favorite sauces and spreads are perfect to add to the side of any of these sandwiches. Alright guys, let me know in the comments below what your favorite breakfast sandwich is. And if you want a link to any of the recipes, just check in the description box below. Thanks so much for getting into the kitchen with me today, guys. I'll see you in the next video.